So, welcome to Just to Have podcast. I'm very excited for my first guest on this podcast. It's Lisa. I'm very excited that you're here. Thank you for coming.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited too.
If there is one thing that you want people to get
Mm.
from this podcast, what would it be?
I think what I would really like for people who want to know this is that change can happen more easily than sometimes we lead ourselves to believe. So if people want change or they're stuck or something's not working for them, it can happen more easily, but we do get stuck in patterns. So if someone's looking to change the way that they're doing things and they can take something out of this, that would be my intention.
Great. And who are you? Like, what is your story? What makes you like the professional to talk about this change?
Yeah, sure. So, okay, I guess I sort of stumbled across some of this work in my own career many years ago. I work in the personal development space and I help people generally around career, work decisions, but there's always well-being at the heart of that. I'm really passionate about feeling good, and I really do believe
Mhm,
that we can all feel good and make choices that are good for us.
mhm,
But sometimes the way that we've been doing things hasn't been working,
mhm,
and we can feel stuck, overwhelmed, burnt out. And I really think that my journey many years ago in the corporate space was that I felt like I had to do more to improve my results, but also I
mhm,
felt at the expense of how I was feeling and my well-being. And I really thought that I believe that well-being and success can go hand in hand, and I was determined to find a way. And even back then, there was a point in time in my career where I think the turning point really happened. I thought I was overlooked for a job, and I thought that I was being undervalued.
mhm,
And I went through a process of self-awareness that really took things to the next level. And now, fast forward to the work that I'm doing now, it was really because I saw a change in myself, which enabled me to feel so much better about how I was doing things, and also led me to experience results that tripled in a short amount of time. And I was just curious, while that was all happening and it was all really great
mhm,
for me at the time, um, I decided I wanted to help people experience that for themselves. So I went then on my journey to do more study in the coaching field and wanted to give back.
mhm,
Yeah, I guess I'm sort of working with all of the dynamics within me that I love, that I enjoy, and that I have strengths in, and I really want to help people do the same for themselves.
mhm. Great. I like the intention. You mentioned that you tripled your sales. Can you talk a little bit more about that? What happens there? Like, what did you change that your
Mm.
sales tripled?
Hmm. Yeah, so I guess I got really clear on what I wanted my focus
Mhm,
to be and what I wanted my target to be. So I wasn't just getting by or forcing or chasing the next sale. I sort of got really clear on what I valued and the things that mattered to me in my job. And when
mhm,
I got really clear with that, it was almost like partly a time detox because we can't get more time. And that's when
mhm,
things can get really difficult. There is not more time. And it's not actually just doing more things that gets us improved results or improved well-being. It's often how we're doing things. And so a lot of that was around, yeah, again, working with the things I valued, what mattered to me, and really getting clear on how I wanted to feel, but also the results that I wanted to experience. And as I said, a lot of that was about how I allocated my time. So I stopped focusing on all of the things. And I think a lot of people can relate that there's always a never ending to do list in life.
mhm,
And if we don't intentionally choose the things that we want to focus on, we can just get lost in all of the things in our circumstances and environment.
mhm,
And that's where we start to feel really separate from the things that are most important to us. And I think too that um, I really think life is about flow, and it's not always about doing more and pushing and forcing. Something has to
mhm,
give. And so we need to sort of move with the flow of what works for us rather than maybe be influenced heavily by how we think other people are doing things or feeling like we need to be a carbon copy of somebody else. It's really about tapping into what's important to us and who we are, how is our personality, how is our energy, and aligning with the things that I guess we want to be inspired sort of by ourselves and by our
Mhm.
goals and our targets for well-being and how we want to feel. I think a lot of people, it's normal for people to feel like it's the external thing that makes them feel
Mhm.
good, like
Mhm.
achieving or having that result or experience in life. It's not so much the material or external thing, it's
Mhm.
actually how it makes us feel. And when
Definitely.
we really connect to the feeling of the things, it opens up a whole new
Mhm.
perspective for how we can move forward.
Mhm. Yeah, definitely. I really see there a link to what I'm always saying because I had a client in what I do. I did the coaching with health coaching, and she had like a perspective shift that she was not looking anymore on how she looked, but how the life changes that we did with her, um, having a healthier life actually made her feel, and she valued this so much more than, yeah, just looking good, because she actually also in the process lost 5 kilos, and everyone
Mm,
told her, hey, you look so good, you lost five
mm,
kilos and stuff, and she's like, yeah, but come on, acknowledge how good I'm feeling inside. And this is, I think, where everything is coming from.
mm. Yeah, I can really relate to that actually because on my journey way back then too, I did turn to I felt that I had a generally very good diet,
Mm-hmm.
and when I say diet, like eating habits, and I think I do and did, but I really focused a lot on just the nutrition, and
Mm-hmm.
I think in isolation, it's not the answer to everything, but it absolutely sets you up with a really good foundation. And I would agree with what you say is that, certainly there were times in my younger years where I felt like I was maybe bigger than some of the other girls around or that I wasn't thin
Mm-hmm.
enough. And, that feels like a never ending thing if we're really judging ourselves that way. And I thought that if I turn to nutrition and I allow how I feel to dictate my choices and notice the differences in my energy through nutrition, then that's really a good sign. And then, as you say, the weight sort of works itself out because it's much easier to work with, I think, those internal energy dynamics. And that's also something that I talk about in my work, not specifically related to, but including nutrition, all of the choices that we
Mm-hmm.
make. I think our feelings are a really good radar
Mm.
for us to work
Yeah,
with.
yeah, definitely. And I think also there we need like a perspective shift on the goal, I think. Like
Mm,
for me, the goal was never to lose weight for her. The goal is to be
mm,
healthy, and then everything else comes as a byproduct. All the external parts that society is telling us that we need to look a certain way or that we need to gain a certain amount of money, like
mm.
that doesn't matter. Like if you do the internal work, then the rest is coming as a byproduct. Can you relate to
Yeah.
this in your space, in your coaching experience?
Yes, absolutely. And they're all of the principles that my work does come back to. It's almost like soul centered professional coaching
Mhm.
because when we're linking our inner, not only when I say inner goals, they're really inner needs and experiences that we want to. And so call it an inner goal or an outer goal when we're really paying attention to what we want for ourselves and how this makes us feel, we then start to choose external uh, choices, jobs,
Mhm.
whatever the
Mhm.
experiences are in relation to that. And when we lead from that sense of knowing who we are and what feels good and what's important, and we're choosing things that are in alignment, naturally it's easier. We radiate more. And I think, again, it just comes back to the energy because when we're feeling good, whatever work we're doing, it naturally reflects back to us
Mhm.
through yeah, I guess as you're saying, through the income, through the way we approach the work,
Mhm.
it's less heavy and it actually feels much lighter. And so the things that are coming to us are an easy yes or an easy no, let's say, if we're paying attention to all of the internal components that really match how that, we're led to do things. Often people come to me about their work situations for whatever reasons,
Mhm.
and they might be looking at someone else does it and they're just not feeling good about that. So anything that is not well aligned will feel harder and energetically draining. And it is hard to maintain something that doesn't feel good. And we think we
Mhm.
can, and we push on and we push on. And then it's just, again, that never ending cycle of exhaustion or burnout or doubt and questioning ourselves because there is a missing link somewhere, which is more on the internal side of things, less on the external.
Definitely. Okay, let's dive a little bit deeper, like in a go into an example. If someone is listening who is working long hours, working a
Mm-hmm.
lot, almost
Mm-hmm.
sliding into burnout, maybe they don't even realize it. They have
Mm,
kids, they have a social life, they try to be healthy and everything, and they just feel like they don't have time, and they want
mhm,
to have more money or triple the income as you did. um
mm,
where would you start? What would you say to these people?
mm. I guess what I would ask them first is what is it that they do want?
Mm-hmm.
Again, without knowing what we want, we can be diverted in other
Mm-hmm.
directions or just attending to everything that comes our way. So I would really want them to get clear on. Sometimes people say, I don't know what I want, and that's also valid. It may not be true once we start to peel back the layers, but what I would want to know is either what do they want, how do they want to feel, what sort of results or what do they want to see in their life, how do they want to connect with people, if they're not feeling like they've got enough time for exercise or their family or social engagements as well. Like, really have a look. It's almost like a data collection process in the
Mm-hmm.
beginning. Maybe either journaling or just a daily exercise to review where time is being spent and
Mm-hmm.
have a look at, is this actually in alignment with how they want to be feeling or the things that they want to be doing? And again, back to what I was saying, often when you look at your time, it's spent in all sorts of areas that aren't actually related to the way that you see your life as thriving and well.
Mm-hmm.
So that can just help bring awareness to what's going on. I would also ask people who are maybe pushing themselves or not feeling good, like, what is the reason that you think that you need to be operating beyond what feels physically comfortable?
Mm-hmm.
I think, as you know, we would like our brain will wants to keep us safe. And so anything that doesn't feel good is sort of conflicting with the natural cycles, I think, of the body. And but the brain is also scared of what is unfamiliar. So
Mm-hmm.
again, there are some competing dynamics, and it's about starting to feel more familiar by identifying what it is we want to feel and achieve, even if it's different, because what's different can feel unsafe. So just getting really clear on that, but also asking why am I pushing myself so hard? And I don't, I think it's fair to say in life and in business, there are times where you might need to do more than you want
Mm-hmm.
to. And short sprints, I think, can be valuable to get things done, but not over the long term because actually it's not sustainable to keep working at a level that is beyond physically comfortable. It starts to affect the mental well-being and connection, not only with your sort of family and social circles, but also with yourself. And ultimately, that's where I think
Mm-hmm.
things get really intense when we're not connected to ourselves. And we're responding to all of the external things or reasons that we're doing it that no longer make sense for us. They might have made sense years ago or at some point in time, but they might not be making sense
Mm-hmm.
now in terms of where you want to go in the future.
Mm. Okay, so if I understood correctly, you would ask them to kind of write down what exactly they want, like what goal they have.
Hmm.
And let's say they just want to have more money and work less.
Yeah.
Do you think like the person needs to go deeper down there why they want this? Or where
Um,
what would you say when somebody is coming to you and say, "Hey, I'm working too much. I want to work less, but I still want to gain money and if possible more because I need to
mhm.
my family and stuff," right?
Yeah, sure. I guess there's a lot of different things we could talk about, but really the high level sort of response to that is that, like, what is that goal? Let's get really specific.
Mhm.
Um, and how can it be possible?
Mhm.
Forgetting about all the dynamics that are operating perhaps in this moment right now. What is that goal in terms of a financial goal, and how is it feasible, or how can it be possible?
Mhm.
I guess it could be asking for a salary increase, but
Mhm.
currently feeling so exhausted and not seeing your own value or recognizing your strengths and
Mhm.
what you're doing well, that you don't feel confident enough to ask for a salary increase.
Mhm.
So we might wind it back that way. We might have a look at what things you do love and where you get your energy in your work, and
Mhm.
then positioning for a new role or a promotion that will start to offer that. Because when we're not seeing our own value, it's very hard to expect others to see it. So again, we are going deeper because we're winding it right back to, how do I shine? What are the things that
Mhm.
really draw on some natural things of me, or some skills that I've learned well, or some areas where I feel like I can thrive? And for someone also working in their own business, I say that strategy alone is limited because
Mhm.
coaching is about strategy and doing things differently. But if we're not aligning to the core of who we are, which is, again, a lot of the work that I help people with early on, to really see what makes them shine. Because if we're
Mhm.
working and overdoing it and feeling like we need to prove or do more to be more respected, again, we're moving further away from that inner inner
Mhm.
truth that already exists. It's not that it doesn't exist. The confidence is there, the love's there. It's just that we build barriers because of the ways that we might have been doing things before now. So
Mm.
whether it's somebody who works for somebody else or somebody who wants to create their own business or is working in their own business, what is that number or that salary or income that you want, and how can we break it down? But how does
Mhm.
that also align to the truth of who you are? And I think sort of, I feel like there was a question there that I wanted to mention, that, or something that you said, is that it can feel disingenuous sometimes wanting more. The reason we want
Mhm.
that, though, is because of the freedom. It's
Mhm.
not necessary, it doesn't, yeah, I mean, money has all the attachments to it and
Yeah.
beliefs that can keep us away from thinking it's okay to want more. But again, if you're breaking it down, it's not the material thing we want. It's the way
Mhm.
that these things make us feel. So why not? Why not peel it right back to working with all of those dynamics that I've suggested, and do what works for you rather than the way that you think or that you see other people currently doing it, if it's not what you want for yourself.
Mm. Yeah, I love that because I think everyone has something that makes them shine, as you said, and
Mm.
it's really important to figure that out. I think because I also I was talking with a friend of mine, and she actually wants to change her position or her career, and she doesn't really know where to go. And she just told me, "Yeah, I want to do any like a certain specific certificate that
Mhm.
fits almost everything or that fits a lot of positions." And I'm telling her, "Yeah, but is that really something you want to do? Like, it doesn't really make sense to go further in a direction only because of the money, you know? Because at a certain
Mm.
point, you will realize that the money won't make you happy because even if you have a really good salary,
Mhm.
I think at a certain point you will ask yourself, what I'm doing here? Like, it's all the
Yeah.
time that I'm wasting doing something that's not interesting at all to me.
Yeah. Yeah, if those and part of a process that I would work with will be looking at where people get their energy and where they feel depleted in the day. And if you're
Mhm,
doing a job that pays you well, but the hours are too long, or you're doing things that ultimately deplete you of your energy, as you say, you can't sustain that. So, and this is what
mhm,
I find a lot of people often getting into the dynamics that this doesn't feel good for me anymore. I'm exhausted. And how can I really look at,
mhm,
what's going on? And just like my own example is that I thought I would go back to that job after I had my
mhm,
son, and I loved my job. I didn't necessarily love the product, but I
mhm,
loved solutions and my helping my clients find solutions for themselves. Now, the work that I do actually utilizes the same things that I loved then and the same strengths, just in a different way. And
mm,
so that's what I sort of try and help people pull out the parts that are naturally an extension of who they are. I sort of talk about work life integration because I think when
mm,
we work with an extension of who we are and what we enjoy, it's easier to be that person. We don't have to show up, put on a hat to go to work, and then put on a different hat to
definitely.
come home. We
Mhm,
just are who we are, and it feels so much easier. And again, that's when it's like a glow or a flow, and
mm,
when that's working in harmony, the opportunities come more naturally because we're not stressed and we're not sort of pushing things in the wrong direction. We're sort of more open to seeing what else is available that literally lights us up and feels inspiring.
mm. So you basically help to unravel these things, right?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
that's
Yeah, I
nice.
guess sometimes there is a lot of unraveling before
Yeah,
people move forward, and people are so used to, "Oh, no, but I need to do more," and it's like,
yeah.
yes, we can
Mhm,
kinda do the inner stuff if you wanna call it doing, but it's not always doing, it's really having a new awareness or perception of the situation, and then making decisions that feel good,
mhm,
not just adding more to the to the to-do list.
definitely. And do you have, like, some simple tools or strategies that people can use to go this journey?
Mm. Yes, I think one of the best ones I really like to use, let me say how I can say this in a nutshell, like an almost an energy radar. What things am I doing in my day that feel good, and what
Mhm,
things am I doing in my day that feel bad?
mhm,
I'm not sure if you're familiar with. There's lots of different versions I've seen, but kind of zones of genius or genius zones where the things that I'm naturally good at
mhm,
and I know how to do easily, or the things that I love but I'm not yet good at also give me energy. And so learning in the direction of things that we love feels good. So how much time are you spending in those zones? And
mhm,
how much time are you spending in things that you really don't enjoy? And an example could be someone spends a lot of time. I have a client who is an accountant. She spends a lot of time in spreadsheets, yet her strengths
mm,
are really around people and seeing potential in others. And so for her, it's a mismatch, let's say. So just really having a look at what we're doing in a day and where we get our energy and where we feel depleted or tired.
mhm,
Sometimes it can be that we're just like in the wrong work or in the wrong activities for ourselves, but it can also
mhm,
be how we think we need to do those things.
mhm,
Um, yeah, how we use our energy. We can
mhm,
be giving a lot of energy in the things that we do naturally by leaning in and thinking that someone needs to hear, and I'm using
mhm,
really pushing my nervous system beyond what's comfortable. Or like I had an example, I'm very clear and aware of how I feel, and I have been for a long time, but I had an example that I needed a passport quickly for,
mhm,
whatever reason, and we had a short time to get that done. And I was talking to Australia in London, going to the embassy, and it was all unclear as to whether we would get this sorted out in time. And then my husband was nervous, and I had to, should I take my son out of school to work? Anyway, I went carrying all, oh, I wonder how this is going to work, and
yeah,
rushed there, got home after a period of however many hours, exhausted and thinking, I
mm,
need a hot chocolate, I need something to give me energy. It wiped me out almost for the night. And then but then there's this other energy where, the posture's open and it's
mm,
confident and it's just trusting. It's not expecting or, it's just trusting that there is. sometimes I say there is a never-ending source of energy or well-being when we're open to it. And
Mhm.
I could have carried myself, and I normally do carry myself with an awareness that I'm open rather than
Mhm.
the needing to be, and it's a different energy. So we can
Mhm.
have a story around why we need to be pushing ourselves. We
Mhm.
might have a belief that doesn't work in our favor. So sometimes even questioning why we do the things that we do can open up
Mhm.
a new awareness on how we might want to take those forward.
Oh,
Um,
definitely. I love
yeah,
that. I love that so much because I always also feel like people need to reflect a little bit more if the goal that they have set themselves 3 years ago is still the goal that they want to achieve.
yeah,
Definitely.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think especially if someone feels like they're doing they don't have enough time and they're doing too much,
Mm,
really slowing down to speed up is the answer. And if you're doing absolutely nothing and you're not finding progress, then, again, it's back to that flow. We need to be doing, but we also need to be being and observing how
mhm,
our body responds to the things, how our mind responds to the things, and questioning whether this is a healthy way forward. And again, it's back to that flow. It's not too
mhm,
much here or too much here. It's finding, taking action. So to get feedback, even if you think
mhm,
you don't know what you want to do, start looking into some things, start testing it. Ask yourself and internally feel into what your responses are, not just what the mind says, because the mind can, again,
mm,
alone, the mind can lead us astray.
mm. Yeah, I really think like I mean that's the same with the body. The body can't be the whole time only running. It needs rest as well. So I
Yeah, exactly.
definitely, yeah,
Yeah.
definitely.
I heard the words recently like the body is a circulatory system, but I
Yeah,
think the world we live in is as well. And if we know that, we can allow all of those systems to run more smoothly when we're allowing ourselves to flow, not just be up or down all the time.
yeah. You mentioned the things with the energy. I really like that. To just see and observe where the energy is going and where it makes us feel good or bad, right?
Mm,
Have like maybe 3 questions for our listeners that they can ask themselves, like precise questions that will help them in that journey.
hmm. Sure. So I think what could be a good top three? Well, yeah, what do I want and how do I want to feel?
Mm-hmm.
Get really clear on that, not vague, because vague will keep you playing out vague
Mm-hmm.
results. So, what do I want? And sort of doing an assessment, or as you say, sort of reflecting, is what I'm doing now in this moment, today, overall in this week, leading me towards feeling that way and having that experience?
Mm-hmm.
And if not, why is it that I think I need to do things that way if it's
Mm-hmm.
keeping me separate from what I want? And it's really interesting sometimes what comes out in why I think I should do that,
Mm-hmm.
because often people say, I should because blah, blah, blah. It might have been an
Mm-hmm.
old should, or because someone expects that of me, or because that's the way I've always done it. And so then we can turn our shoulds into I can if I want
Mm-hmm.
to. And then we
Mm-hmm.
really get to decide what the I can is. And
Mm-hmm.
always coming back to what the core goal, or I'm
Mm-hmm.
cautious with goals because I think existence is about progress, just like plants and trees grow.
Mm-hmm.
When we become stagnant, we can feel that there's a gap or we feel stuck. And so it is about growth. And it doesn't mean to be far reaching. It can be if that's what someone aspires to, but always having that sort of knowing of what is the thing I'm trying to achieve or I want to feel in my life, and
Mm-hmm.
having a look again at, how does my day, my week, my month lead to that? And if
Mm-hmm.
it's not, what are the things that are really keeping me away?
Mm. Yeah, I really like these questions. They're really great.
Yeah.
Do you
So
have
turning them into I can statements.
yeah, that's really helpful, I think.
Mm,
What is your mission, or what is your core goal actually?
yeah. I feel like, making a difference is important to me.
Mhm,
Um, and I think that we can all experience good well-being and success, whatever success is,
mhm,
whether, yeah, whatever that is. I really think that we have so much more access to what's important to us. And, I struggled at one point, and I'm not ever without struggle. Sometimes I get in my own way, but my mission really is that we can simplify
mhm,
ourselves, our lives, our feelings, and our goals, our dreams. And
mm,
I would really love to share that with more people. And that's exactly,
mhm.
yeah, how I ended up doing this in my career.
I loved it. I loved it. Do you
Thank
want
you.
to add anything else that you think would be important for people listening?
I think the best thing is just awareness of yourself. There is no right or wrong way. Um, and our feelings really do act as guidance.
Mhm,
Um, the mind might say, I must finish this thing, I must do more hours, I must, you know, housework or go to that event, or I must, there's all these things. The mind is always busy. And it's
mhm,
kind of letting go of the noise and really tapping into who am I and what are the things that I'm really looking for in this world, life? And it doesn't need this decision today doesn't need to serve you for the rest of your life. But
mhm,
if you can make small steps every day that help you feel better than you did yesterday, then you start to train your mind and your body to work with you and for you. And so
mhm,
that whenever you change your mind in the future, you just move in that new direction. It doesn't have to be a permanent change. You can try things out and see how they feel.
mhm. I really like that because I also sometimes feel like, oh, I need to make a decision, like a big decision, but you can change the decision after a year as well if you want to. Like it's not a
Yeah,
sometimes you feel like it's a big decision for like you need to make a decision now for the next 10 years, but you can decide
yeah,
pretty much every day. So,
yeah. And I think decision's important because people avoid decisions in
yes,
fear of making the wrong one. But the
yes.
more you avoid a decision, the more you delay the decision, and then nothing's changing. So even a small decision is a step in the right direction because you'll always get feedback. Did I like that? Did it work? And then work with the feedback. I actually heard somebody say, I don't know if it was a podcast or something recently, that in all the people that she's met, even people earning 6, 7-figure incomes, they're not more resourced or smarter than anyone else. They're
Mm,
just willing to make decisions and
exactly.
to get things wrong and then just make a new decision, because getting something wrong isn't a reflection on who we are.
Mm,
It's just a decision that leads you to another decision that can move in the direction of what you're really looking for.
and I actually think wrong decisions are important because you learn something from them.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you so, so much,
Yes.
Lisa.
You're
Before we
welcome.
close down, let the people know where they can find you, where they can connect with you.
Yes, thank you. So I'm on Instagram at Core Guidance, also on LinkedIn, Lisa de Laroy. And yes, I'd love to hear. And if anybody wants any a worksheet to sort of have a play with some of these theories, definitely reach out to me. I would love to share something for you to get started and start to move into the direction that you're looking to.
Thank you so much. I'm gonna link everything below how you can find Lisa if you want to work with her or just dive a little bit deeper in her world. And yeah, thank you. Thank you so much, Lisa.
Wonderful. Thank you for the conversation. It was lovely to chat.
Thank you. Bye bye for
Bye
now.
for now.